Let's be real. Most compliments barely scratch the surface. They're predictable, recycled, safe. You look nice. I like your outfit. Great smile. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing bad about saying those things, but they don't stay with her. They don't reach her. Because those kinds of compliments, they focus on the surface, on what's immediately visible. And let's be honest, she's probably heard them 100 times before. But if you want to connect deeper, if you want her to feel truly seen, you've got to go beyond what everyone else notices. You've got to notice the things that matter, the parts of her that aren't obvious, that take presence, attention, and intention to recognize. Because in a world full of noise where most people are distracted, self-absorbed, and in a rush being the person who sees the essence of someone that's rare, that's powerful, and that's where Stoicism comes in. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, they weren't just philosophers, they were observers, men who believed in looking past the chaos to see what truly matters. They taught us to stay grounded, to look for virtue over appearance, to value character over charm, to pay attention, not to the loudest thing in the room, but to the truest. And today, we're going to take that mindset into something almost no one talks about. Deeply, compliments, not shallow flattery, not lines to impress, but words that make her pause. Compliment 1, feel seen and feel understood. So here they are, 6 compliments that don't just make her smile, they make her feel deeply understood. Before we dive in, take a moment to subscribe. If you're ready to transform how you handle relationships using the power of Stoicism, every video is a step toward mastering your mindset and building stronger, more meaningful connections. Let's dive in. Compliment 1. You have this calm presence that makes everything feel okay. Not everyone brings peace into a room. In fact, most people bring the opposite stress rush noise. But then there's her. She doesn't have to say much. She doesn't need the spotlight just by being there. She makes everything feel a little more grounded, a little more stable, a little more okay when you say you have this calm presence that makes everything feel okay. You're doing more than giving a compliment. You're recognizing the atmosphere she carries with her, the way her energy affects everything around her. Softly, quietly, but powerfully, you're telling her that she doesn't have to perform to be valuable, that just being herself is enough. And here's the thing, in a world where chaos is the norm, calm is a gift from a Stoic perspective. This kind of inner peace isn't weakness, it's strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Tranquility is nothing else than the good ordering of the mind." When you recognize her calmness, you're honoring something incredibly rare, emotional stability. You're noticing the quiet power most people overlook, and that makes you stand out. Because she's not used to being seen that way. Most compliments aim at the surface, but this goes straight to her core. It tells her, I see you, not just your beauty, but your essence. And that kind of compliment, it stays with her. Compliment 2. You really listen. That's compliment 2 rare. Let's be honest, most people are just waiting for their turn to talk. They nod, they smile, but their mind's somewhere else. So when you come across someone who actually listens, really listens, it feels different. And when you tell her you really listen, that's rare. You're not just complimenting her behavior. You're appreciating her presence, because active listening isn't passive. It's intentional. It's generous. It takes effort to slow down, to tune in, to give someone your full attention without thinking about how to respond or what to say next. When she does that, she's showing maturity, empathy, emotional intelligence. And the moment you recognize it, you're telling her, I don't just hear what you say, I notice how you care. Now, here's where Stoicism cuts in. The Stoics were masters of attention. Seneca said, "Most men complain of the meanness of nature because we are born for so short a span of life. But the real trouble is that we waste it. And where does most of that time go? Distraction to listen fully, completely, is to respect the present moment. It's to choose someone else's world over your own for a few seconds. So when she listens, she's doing something powerful. And when you notice it, you're showing her that you see something most people miss. You're not just saying, "Thanks for hearing me." You're saying, "I value the way you make people feel heard." And trust me, that kind of recognition, it doesn't just feel good, it lingers. Compliment 3. I love how you light up when you talk about what you care about. There's something undeniable about passion. It's not something you can fake. It shows up in her eyes, in the tone of her voice, in the way her whole energy shifts when she's talking about compliment 3, something that matters to her. And when you say, "I love how you light up," when you talk about what you care about, you're not just saying, "That's cool." You're saying, "I see you, the real you." Because passion isn't about being loud or dramatic, it's about depth. It's about the things that move her, the causes she believes in, the projects that pull her in, the dreams she's chasing even if no one else understands them. Yet this compliment, it tells her you're paying attention, not just to what she does, but to why she does it. And here's the Stoic tie-in. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one, it's about action." Passion for the Stoics wasn't chaotic emotion, it was purposeful. Energy, directing your fire towards something meaningful. When she lights up, that's her purpose in motion. That's her values turning into action. And when you acknowledge that, you're reflecting back the part of her that's aligned with something bigger than just herself. You're not just complimenting a moment. You're honoring the spark, the drive, the quiet fire that makes her her. And in a world where surface-level praise is everywhere, that kind of compliment stands out. It resonates because it tells her, you're not just interesting, you're inspiring. Hey, pause with me for just a second. If this is resonating with you so far, I want you to drop this in the comments. I choose to see the soul, not just the surface. Simple as that. Not only does it tell me you're here for the real stuff, it shows you're someone who values depth, who listens with intention, and who sees people like the Stoics taught us. I read every comment seriously. So go ahead, type it out. I choose to see the soul, not just the surface. Let's see how many of us are building that mindset together. Compliment 4, you make people feel like they belong. There's a quiet kind of compliment 4, strength that doesn't shout for attention, but you feel it the moment you're around it. That strength, it's the ability to make people feel like they belong. And when you say to her, you make people feel like they belong, you're recognizing something that most people overlook. You're not just talking about being friendly. You're acknowledging that she carries an energy that invites people in, that makes others feel safe, like they don't have to prove anything. They can just be. That's powerful, because in a world where so many feel invisible, someone who makes others feel seen is rare. It takes awareness, compassion, and a deep kind of emotional intelligence to notice who's being left out and to bring them in without making it obvious. And that's exactly where Stoic wisdom lives. The Stoics believed in living in accordance with nature. And part of that meant understanding our shared human experience, our connection to others. Seneca said, "We are waves of the same sea leaves, of the same tree flowers, of the same garden." So when she creates that sense of unity, of acceptance, of quiet inclusion, she's living out one of the highest Stoic values, harmonizing with others without losing yourself. This compliment tells her, I see your wisdom in action, not the kind found in books, but the kind that flows through how she treats people, how she carries herself, how she makes others feel like they matter, and that's the kind of presence people never forget. Not because it demands attention, but because it makes them feel at home. And you recognizing that that's a rare kind of awareness too. Compliment 5. You have a strength that doesn't need to be loud. There's a kind of strength that doesn't show up in noise. It doesn't need attention. It doesn't ask for validation. It just is when you say to her, you have a strength that doesn't need to be loud. You're pointing to something deeper than what most people see because her strength. Compliment 5 isn't in how she talks about what she's been through. It's in how she walks through it. Calm, focused, steady. She doesn't need to raise her voice to be heard. She doesn't need to prove anything. She just carries it, that silent resilience, the kind you only notice when you're really paying attention. And that's where Stoicism shines. Brightest, the Stoics believed in endurance without complaint in standing tall. Not because life is easy, but because you've chosen to respond with courage. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it. That matters." And if she has faced storms and still remains centered, kind, unshaken, that's not just strength, that's virtue in motion. This compliment tells her, I see your discipline, your self-control, your grace under fire. You're honoring the way she holds herself together when most people would fall apart. You're showing her that her quiet power isn't invisible. It's rare and deeply, deeply respected in a world obsessed with loudness, recognizing her silent strength that makes her feel not just understood, but seen in the truest way possible. Compliment. 6. You don't just speak. You make people think most people talk, but few people leave an echo. When she speaks, something shifts. It's not just words, it's weight. Her thoughts don't just pass through the air. They settle in your mind, they stay with you. So when you say you don't just speak, you make people think you're recognizing something rare. You're saying your voice doesn't just fill space, it shapes it. That's influence, that's clarity, that's soul. And in a world full of surface-level conversations, she chooses depth. She chooses intention. She speaks not to impress, but to express what truly matters to her. The Stoics taught this with every word they left behind. Marcus Compliment 6. Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the colour of its thoughts." And her thoughts, they're vivid, they're alive, they affect people. Stoicism isn't about saying more, it's about saying what matters, speaking with precision, with truth, with care. And that's exactly what she does. Whether she realises it or not, this compliment tells her, I don't just hear you, I think about you after. You don't just speak, you shift the way I see things you're showing her. That her words aren't lost, they land. They make people pause, reflect, grow, and when you acknowledge that you're honouring the philosopher that lives within her, even if she's never read a single Stoic quote, she's living it quietly, powerfully, unforgettably. So here's the truth. The compliments that matter most. They're not about the dress she's wearing, not about the colour of her eyes or how good she looks in a photo. Those things fade, they shift their surface. But when you speak to her essence, to the strength she carries, the kindness, she spreads the fire that drives her, the calm she brings. You're touching something deeper. You're saying, I see the part of you the world often overlooks. And that kind of recognition, it's rare, it's intimate, it lands. Most people crave attention, but what we truly long for is to be understood. And that's where Stoicism isn't just a philosophy. It becomes a way of seeing, of slowing down, of noticing what really matters, of speaking not to flatter, but to honour. So the next time you give a compliment, make it count. Make it about something eternal, something soulful, because when you reflect her depth back to her, you're not just giving her words, you're giving her proof that someone really sees her. And that kind of compliment, it's not just Stoic, it's unforgettable, it's powerful, it's real. So, conclusion, now, the kind of compliments that actually reach her soul. But here's the thing, while saying the right words is powerful, saying the wrong ones, that can silently push her away, even if your intentions were good, if you want to avoid the most common mistakes men make when giving compliments, and learn what to do. Instead, Click the video that's on your screen right now. Never compliment her like this. Do this instead. It's the perfect follow-up to this one, same energy, same depth, but it will take you even further. And hey, if this video spoke to you, hit that like button, subscribe for more content like this every single week, and drop a comment below, letting me know which of these compliments hit you the hardest. I'll be down there reading every word. See you in the next